I want to ask if you had found out anything more on Joe, on Martarano, and obviously had some guys dinged up on the defensive side, and I don't know where you're at for the rest of some of those guys.
Yeah, so he's out. Fibula, so fractured fibula is what he's got there, and I think that's it. So it's a lower leg injury that's going to keep him out, and we knew that for this week. Don't know as we get into whatever bowl game, and we can talk about that later. But it's a matter of how fast does it heal, and is there surgery and those type of things. So he's a warrior, and unfortunately he got dinged up. He's going to be okay when it's all said and done. That's the most important thing. He's going to be okay. It's frustrating. He had a knee injury this year, and then to have that happen, and you're going out there, and that's the one thing, you play a physical position, and unfortunately guys get hurt. So we'll get him back. I don't know when, but right now, I mean, that's the status of where he's at right now. So we won't have him for probably the rest of the season, certainly not this game.
No. Just looking at the depth chart, Whitlock is going to be starting this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned Martarano, Vallejo. Triple options, obviously, always a little bit tough. You're banged up that linebacker position. How do you feel about that unit?
Yeah, well, Blake Whitlock hasn't seen it yet, so we'll get a chance to see how he plays it. You feel good, with Darren Lee and Ben Weaver back there. Those guys, Darren's played really well. Yeah, you're lacking depth at that position now. Tanner Vallejo, not having him out there, we know who Tanner is. Tanner's one of our best football players we've ever had here. So Blake's going to have to step up, and Darren Lee's going to have to step up. Ben Weaver's going to have to step up. I mean, every guy out there, I could say the same thing about the starters too, and safeties included. So I don't think it's any different. We just got to go out there and prepare, and those guys are going to play hard. The one thing about Blake and Darren, that's the question you're asking, those two in particular, those guys will play, and they're going to play extremely hard. Darren probably I got a chance to finally go back and watch the defensive side. After the game, I don't know all the stats or all the plays he made. Darren Lee had some open field tackles that it doesn't matter who was playing out there. Not many guys are going to make him. He made them. And so to me, I think for Darren, he's got to have more confidence going in this game than any game he's played after his performance last week and blocking a punt. So if anybody's peaking, right now, he's one of those guys that I think is going to accept the challenge and be ready to go. And he's just, the way he prepares, he doesn't get too overly emotional about the whole process of it. He's just going to get ready to go play and do his very best.
I asked you after the game about McNichols and the possibility of him leaving early. You've had the last couple of years with Kamale and with Jay where that happened. How do you as a coach handle that and try to keep that from being a distraction down the stretch, because there is a lot of fans, outside noise, whatever, that just assume he will go pro? How do you kind of handle all that with him and his coaching staff?
Yeah, well, there's a timing factor of it. We don't handle it right now. And all those guys were the same. Jay, we handled it. As we went into a bowl game, Kamale, we had talked about it. We went and played the Poinsettia Bowl, and the conversation was real simple. Go play your best game. This is what you want to do, and he did. So those conversations will be had somewhere down the road. The bottom line is, if those opportunities present themselves and this is a good situation for a player on this football team, that the next level, he's going to have a chance to go in there and play, then we're going to help him figure that out. Because that doesn't happen often. And I think for every guy that's ever played the game, that opportunity or that dream to play at that level, I mean, if you're playing this game of Division I football, you have that. So we'll approach that down the road. Certainly hasn't been talked about. McNichols and other guys on this team, I think they've been extremely focused. And we have more guys than just him. They're going to have opportunities to go on and play. And those conversations will be had when the season's over, and what we do from there. And we'll handle it the right way. And they've handled it. They'll handle it the right way too. We talk about these things in the spring. We have scouts come in here. We educate. They understand the process, how it all works. So you already kind of pre-plan for it, that these guys are going to have these opportunities. And then you just decide what you want to do. And really, I think it comes down to the guy, what's best for him and where he fits.
You guys face plenty of variations of the option attack. Specifically with Air Force, though, what's the biggest challenge on defense for you guys?
Yeah, different, because they'll get in the gun too. So you're going to see a little bit of New Mexico. they'll get into the gun. You're gonna show you some New Mexico. They're gonna get into. They don't just line up, in the triple option like everybody expects. They're gonna get into unbalanced formations. They're still gonna formation you. I think they still game plan what they're doing fairly well, and so it's not much different when it comes to that as far as other offenses go. You have to line up to different formations. Personnel doesn't change as much. They're going to have primarily the same guys out there. But then you've got this downhill fullback that's 3 yards from the ball, and he's going to hit it, and you've got to be able to stop that, because that's the fastest way to go get yards is right up the middle. And it's 3 or 4, and these guys, they're one of the best third down teams in the country, so they're staying in a manageable third down where they're able to run it. And so the biggest thing is you got to tackle. That's the bottom line. You got to tackle. You got to be disciplined. We all know that. I think anybody that talks about triple option, you have a responsibility. You got to be disciplined. You got to do your job. You got to tackle. So when they do get out in space, and last year we had some opportunities. We created some turnovers. Thought we had one that didn't get called and go our way. So we were flying around. At the same time, you just got to communicate and do your job from that standpoint. But you got to tackle. When there's opportunities to do that, probably something showed up last year. We had some of those. We didn't tackle well enough, and they're able to break some tackles, which when that happens, doesn't matter who you're playing. They're going to make some explosive plays.
The Mountain West extremely unbalanced in divisions this year. 5 bowl-eligible teams on the mountain side, only 1 team with a winning record on the west side. How tough is this when you have to play all 6 of the teams on your side,
Yeah.
and only 3 from the west? Does it make it tougher on you, or does it toughen you up?
A little bit. We feel like the Mountain Division. That's we talked about it this year. We actually have something in our locker room about it too. I mean, we play the best teams in our conference, and in order to play in that championship game, you have to beat the best teams in our conference, and that's a credit to the coaches and what they're doing. I think that being on this side in the Mountain Division, that's part of it. We're in it. The teams we're played very well this year, so it is what it is. But I think playing in that division and they're getting better. So that's one thing we look forward to too. They're getting better. We have to continue to keep getting better, and that's part of, I think, for anybody that plays, they enjoy that competition because you're going to get those type of games, and you got to win them to get to that championship game.
You mentioned obviously knowing that this game on the schedule was going to be at the end of the regular season. How much does it help you guys to know that it has, there's something riding on it? And obviously, your last 2 years against them obviously was motivation enough, but having it have there be some weight to it too. What does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, well, we anticipated, at the beginning of the year that we already knew this was going to be a big game. We knew we were going to be excited for it. We knew where it fell on our schedule, and then on top of it, where we are right now with our season that we're having. It's time to go finish. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. It's time to go finish, and what an awesome opportunity. You talk about staying focused and being and preparing yourself. Well, you're playing Air Force. We know how that's gone, and you're finishing the season up, and you have an opportunity. You don't know what's going to happen, but we don't know what's going to happen until the season ended anyway. So to me, it's about as perfect as it gets, and I think that's the one thing that excites me. We get to take action. All right, we can control what we can control now. We can go out there and play our best, and for our seniors as well. I mean, really, truly being that last regular season game. We had senior night and all that, but last regular season game, what can we go out there and do? And I think that's the point that we're trying to make and finish the right way.